Hello and welcome to Back to Basics. I am Rico Burton and I serve as a volunteer for AARP Arizona. AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to more than 100 million Americans 50 plus and their families. That includes health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. AARP also produces the nation's largest circulation publications, AARP the Magazine and AARP Bulletin. In the months of February and March, we'll focus on communications and marketing to help prepare for and live a financially secure retirement. We will provide a wide range of tactics, including digital resources, to help consumers increase their financial health. AARP is the wise friend helping consumers manage their money decisions during pre retirement. Take a look at some tips and tools and resources at the URL that you will see on the screen below. Today, we're joined with Coach SheriAnne, and we're going to be talking about the importance or the benefits of a Mediterranean diet. For those of you joining us, make sure that you let us know where you're from. And should you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer them today. And if not, Coach will get back to you when she can. Thank you so much. Hello, Coach SheriAnne. How are you?
Good morning, Lady B. I am good. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I won't complain.
It's so nice here in Arizona right now because it's super. This is our winter, early spring, and so the weather is just absolutely spectacular. This is why everyone comes to Arizona. Usually, it's this time of year. So I'm enjoying the sunshine and the crispness of the air because it's a nice break from our typical, Arizona weather. So I'm loving it.
Absolutely. Well, we've got people visiting on with us from Pittsburgh and some from Columbus and Minnesota. It just sounds cold.
Yes.
Hope you
I
all
mean,
are
I love this. I love the snow, but I'm happy to be here right now.
absolutely. Well, again, should you have any questions or concerns, make sure that you put them in the chat and we'll try to address those today. Thank you. All
Yes,
right, Coach, what do you have
please
for
do.
us?
Yes, so the Mediterranean diet is one of the most highly recommended diets, and I really honestly cannot. I don't like the word diet, so it will be used in this episode, but I like to talk about it being a style of eating, and because when people hear the word diet, they tend to have sometimes of a visceral response, like diet means that they've got to, restrict or you know be held to a certain standard, and it's just a style of eating. And the reason, we'll talk about the benefits of why it's so highly recommended amongst doctors, talk about it. And it's just a big buzzword, especially with blue zones being on a huge explosion right now. Everyone talks about the Mediterranean diet. So the style of eating is, it's a generic term based on a traditional eating pat a traditional eating habits from 16 different countries that border the Mediterranean Sea. And so I didn't even know that there were 16 countries bordering the Mediterranean Sea. I guess I could have figured that out by looking at a map, but I was like shocked that it was 16 different countries. I always thought of like the Mediterranean being more like Spain and Greece and and all, but it's so it's 16 countries. So there's a little variation in the Mediterranean style way of eating based on the country's religious preferences and things like that. But the overarching Mediterranean style way of eating is you're doing whole, nutrient dense foods. You're really limiting the processed, refined foods, high in sugars, the unhealthy fats, the added salts, things like that. So if you're here in America and you're thinking about shopping the perimeter of your grocery store, that's really where you want to stay. Because when you get to the inside of the grocery store in the aisles, that's where everything is processed and refined, and you're getting away from nutrient dense foods. So the Mediterranean style is really focusing on fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, which are beans. And when I talk about whole grains, it's really, you could do sweet potatoes, you could do barley, oat, quinoa, farro. There's a lot of different kinds of whole grains that you can use, but getting away from the processed, grains, the processed rices. If you're going to do a rice, try to do a long grain rice. Yes, it takes longer to cook, but it's a lot better for you. The fiber content is much higher in it. So along with fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, beans, healthy fats. And a lot of their healthy fats come from olive oil. They use olive oil very religiously in salad dressings, drizzled on foods. And their other healthy form of fats come from nuts, avocados, coconuts, things that, it's where it's naturally occurring and it's not a processed fat. So getting away from those trans fats. And so when we first hopped on here, Lady B, I did see someone put in there, they're trying to decipher between the Mediterranean, the dash, and something else. So one of the benefits of the Mediterranean style way of eating is it's very, very sustainable. Once you understand just the premise of what's behind it, it is very, okay, so right there, dash. So the other diets that you'll hear out there would be like a ketogenic diet. Like ketogenic tends to be, and that came after Atkins. So Atkins diet was very popular, I want to say back in the early 2000s, like late 90s, 2000s. Um, and he even had a line of food that, people would purchase. And the Atkins diet really puts you in a ketosis state. And so what happens when you're in a ketosis state is your body starts burning its, own fat and muscle actually also for fuel. And so you actually do these ketone strips when you're on a ketogenic diet or an Atkins diet, and you're really having to monitor your ketones, which there are urine strips that you can do. And the reason for that is because you start to metabolize your body too much, you can actually create a lot of damage. So they really only want you in a true ketosis state for a very short period of time. So yes, the ketogenic diet, Atkins diet, is very effective, but it's not sustainable. So that's the one that's definitely my opinion and a lot of other people's opinion. So it's effective for a very short period of time to create a catalytic change, but there's no sustainability in it. And the older I get and the more experiences I have, I am so much about sustainability and like being able to maintain something that I can continue doing. Wouldn't you agree, Lady B?
Yeah, for the most part, I absolutely would agree. But the other thing that comes to my mind is if I have a reunion coming up and I want something done in a hurry, hey, ketosis or whatever it is you just said, I'm trying to do that.
For sure. Like I said, like it's going to be a catalytic change. It's going to create some immediate change for you, but you have to have something to put in behind it. Otherwise, you're just going to revert back to old habits,
Well,
and
after
it's
I leave the
old.
reunion, it's okay. As long as I look good at the reunion, when I come home, then I can start to try to do the sustainable way.
You're like, I just want that one day. Just give me that day.
Give me the weekend.
I
Give me the
got you.
weekend. Give me the weekend. No, I certainly understand. And I know that there are people, one of the challenges I think people have is we're such a microwave society and we do want to see
Yeah.
things happen very, very quickly. And so people get very discouraged and frustrated sometimes when it doesn't happen that way because we're not used to waiting. It took us a
Right.
while sometimes maybe to gain the weight or whatever, but now we want to see it gone quickly. So
Yes. I mean, you said it. It's like that's one of the things I do counsel people on is you didn't put this all on, you know, overnight, so to speak. So you got to if you put it on over the course of time, you got to give yourself an opportunity to take it off over the course of time. Yes, you can do a jolt, in the ketogenic diet, as long as you're either being monitored by a doctor or you are monitoring yourself closely, because it can create some issues. Some other ones are along like the keto line is the paleo diet, which is similar, but keto is zero carbs. If you're doing a true ketogenic diet, it's zero carbs. Whereas paleo, there are some carbs in there, but it is still heavy in meat and fat. It's more like a caveman style of eating is paleo. That's how I explain it to people. And then the other is interval dieting, which is like intermittent fasting, which is there is a lot of sustainability in that, and it does offer you quite a bit of freedom. Another one that people have heard of is the zone diet. I will admit I'm not super familiar with the zone diet. I do know that it was a Dr. Sears that created it like 30 years ago. And it has to do with your body being in a specific zone, and how they figure this out is they do a lot of testing. So it is that one you have to really kind of be in touch with your doctor quite a bit to talk about a zone diet. And because we're in essence in the theory behind it is you have a zone when you can eat. And so, like I said, I'm not super familiar with that one. I do know the guest that asked about the DASH diet. So the DASH diet is the dietary approach to stop hypertension. So that's what DASH stands for, dietary approach to stop hypertension. So I mean, ideally, the Mediterranean style diet could do that. It's going to help lower hypertension, because we'll get into the benefits of it here in a minute. But that's so the DASH diet is really getting back to whole grains, getting away from processed foods so that you can reduce your hypertension. Another one that it was popular for a while was the Whole 30 style of eating diet. And what that was is, once again, it's a lot like my opinion, the ketogenic diet. So you do this program for 30 days and it's an elimination. So you're eliminating like a lot of what you eat so that you can get down to like just bare bones. And so elimination diets, in my opinion, when people have like a 30-day goal, like it serves a purpose. It definitely does. But there's not a lot of sustainability in it, because when they're done with the 30 days, if you continue with the Whole 30, they do kind of walk you back into integrating some foods back into your diet. But for 30 days, it's an elimination diet.
Well, is part of it supposed to be to, to get rid of toxins and things with that whole 30?
Yes, and it's really just to kind of clean your system out and have kind of a restart. And like I said, I don't have any problem with people doing that as long as they are prepared and have a plan in place for when they're done doing it. Otherwise they have a tendency to revert back to old habits. And the whole thing about dieting is it doesn't create habits. And that's why I like to talk about a style of eating. So if you're going to do a specific diet for 30 days, then create a style that you can move into. And the Mediterranean style is one that is actually very, very manageable and very doable. It's just, it's, and so we'll dive into like my tips on how to integrate that and create that style. And then we'll talk about the benefits. So the way to do that is to make vegetables the hero of your dish. And I know some of you right now are kind of going, what? I don't like vegetables. But I'm telling you, if you can learn, I mean, there's so many vegetables out there. And the thing I did with my children when they were little is they went to the store with me, and we were always like, go find something that we haven't had yet, and we'll figure out a way how to prepare it. And it provided them the opportunity to be exposed to all vegetables that we could find at the store, whether it was a farmer's market, Sprouts, the regular grocery store. So treat yourself like a child, and go find something that you've never prepared. We have a plethora of information at our hands with these wonderful little computers, whether it's your desktop, your laptop, or even these little things that we carry around. You can easily Google recipe for bok choy. Let's just say, like, I bought some bok choy yesterday, and because we hadn't had it in a while, and it's a type of cabbage, but it's fun to cook and actually tastes really good, and we put it in a stir fry. But make the vegetable the hero of your dish when you're eating. Try to have vegetables actually at every meal if you can. It will be a life changer for you. And you don't have to have breakfast things at breakfast. You can have regular food at breakfast. You can have a lentil soup, a minestrone soup. You can have regular food at breakfast. It doesn't have to be breakfast foods. And we've talked about that before. So then go meatless once a week. Just give it a try. One day out of the week, or just pick one dinner if you can't do the whole day, but do a meatless dinner. And once again, there's so many recipes available at our, online. And when you're doing that, have fun with mixing a grain and a legume and spice it up and have fun. So try to go meatless. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, wait, I don't think I can do that.
Well, I think some people too think that for people that go meatless, there's a lot of carbs out there. So that's how they fill themselves up. And if you don't want to eat a lot of carbs, then, what do you do?
So that's a great, I'm so glad you brought that. That's a good question. So when you're going meatless, it doesn't mean that you're going heavy carb. You're just doing a plant-based protein. So when you mix beans and rice together, that actually gives you a full amino acid profile as if you were eating a meat. So you don't necessarily have to just load up on pasta if you're not going to, have any meatballs with it because you're going with a meatless dinner. There's lots of ways to have a plant-based meal. And so if you're going to do a meatless dinner, well, how I would encourage you to look that up is looking for meatless opportunity, meatless dinners is what you would probably search for. That way you're not just in your head thinking, I got to load up on carbs. Because there's a lot of plant-based proteins out there that are good. There's some that are not so good, I'll be honest.
Absolutely. Mhm.
But there's a lot of fun ways. Like I made a lentil soup a week ago, and it was so delicious. It was full of vegetables and lentils, and I put barley in there as well, because when you put a grain, barley, in the lentils, then we have our full amino acid. And it was perfect because it's been kind of cold here for us. For us.
Right.
So yeah, there's ways to do it. Enjoy fish, twice a week. If you don't incorporate fish into your diet, go out and salmon is one of the best ones because it's high in omega-3s and 6 fatty acids, and those are really, really good for you. So add fish in twice a week if you're not used to doing fish. That's very common in the Mediterranean style. Get dairy in. Make sure you're eating some good dairy. And we go for whole fat dairy. We're not afraid of the fat because the fat actually is going to actually give you some satiation. If you're going with fat-free cottage cheese, this doesn't taste as good as full fat cottage cheese or low fat cottage cheese. We do a lot of cottage cheese here in my house and Greek yogurt. We mix Greek yogurt. We use Greek yogurt in place of sour cream. It gets mixed in with all different kinds of things. So make sure you're getting in some good dairy, and that will be very filling if you have it. Make sure that it has fat in it.
Is
And
there
then,
a Greek,
like
is there a Greek
yeah,
yogurt that doesn't have that little bite to it? It's almost a little, you know what I'm talking about?
I do. When you do plain Greek yogurt, it does have a little bit of a sourness to it, like a sour cream. Uh, and those are hard to find. Greek God makes one, and then the one we use is from Costco. So it's a Kirkland brand. And it doesn't have that tangy, bitey taste to it.
Oh,
But I know what it's like, so if you can just put a tiny drizzle of honey, don't do a ton of honey, but honey is better for you than sugar. But if you put honey in the Greek yogurt, it kind of takes it out just a little bit.
okay. Thank you.
I know though. If you don't get a good one, it's like it bites a bit,
Right. So, no, thank you. I'll just get the other one, the
right?
flavored one, strawberry or something, strawberry banana or something.
The thing with those is they have so much added sugar. So you're better off getting the plain and then adding your own honey to sweeten it because you can control it because the other ones just have so much sugar in them.
Even the
So
low
much.
fat one.
Yeah, you should look at the sugar content. It's usually in the 20s to 30s for one serving.
I'm not going to look. Nope, not going to look. Thanks, though. All right.
So the other tip to use is to switch to whole grains, like I had mentioned earlier, doing a brown rice or a long grain rice, barley, oats, quinoa, farro. There's all different kinds, and adding that in actually really is very, very filling. The whole grains actually fill you more so than the processed grains because there's a lot more fiber in it. So there's a lot of benefits to incorporating whole grains into your diet. Have fresh fruit. A lot of the Mediterranean style of eating is they actually have fresh fruit for dessert. They don't do processed sugary desserts. They might have some dark chocolate with their fruit, but they choose to do fruit for their dessert. And there's a lot of good fruit out there. I know it's not as exciting as a cookie. I love my cookies, so
No comment.
I get it.
Right? Or a good German chocolate cake or
But
carrot cake.
maybe, yeah. Oh, I love good carrot cake is delicious. But try to maybe mix it if, and I'm definitely one of not deprivation. Don't deprive yourself because then you get to a point to where you fall off the wagon and then you really overdo it. So if you really are craving, something sweet and, a cake or a cookie, go and have it, but then have some fruit with it as well to help fill that gap, fill that space, or limit yourself to having that cake, once or twice a week.
Nancy is
Yeah.
asking, is it okay for a type 2 diabetic to eat long grain rice? Thanks for that question, Nancy.
Nancy, that is a great question. I don't know if you're a type 2 diabetic, you typically have insulin that you are, an insulin monitor that's monitoring you. The best thing I can tell you is to eat some and then watch your monitor. Or if you're just doing finger pricks, there's people have different ways of monitoring their insulin and glucose, is eat some, eat a small portion and see what happens. Your body will react within minutes of having it. So you'll know immediately. And I say just have a very small serving. And so when I've dealt with people who have diabetes, that's what we do is we just sample little things to see what their body can tolerate. Because everybody, even people that aren't diabetic, will have insulin responses to things that the next person next to them doesn't. So everybody's body is a bit unique. So I don't know how you're monitoring yours, but I would say if you're interested in having long grain rice, try some and then monitor your spikes.
Great.
So the next thing that you can do to do a Mediterranean style is use a lot of extra virgin olive oil. Drizzle it on things, make your own salad dressing. I make my own salad dressing with extra virgin olive oil, and then sometimes I'm using fresh lemon juice or a seasoned rice vinegar, and then I use garlic, some seasoning, pepper. So, but a lot of extra virgin olive oil on different things. And you can cook with olive oil. Some people have questions about the heat ability, but you can definitely cook with it. Absolutely. Other healthy fats that you want to incorporate, like I said earlier, are avocados, nuts, seeds. Those are a great way to get in healthy fats. And then don't be afraid to use herbs and spices. People have a tendency to think that when they're going on a grain diet or if they're trying to do plant-based, proteins, that they're not super flavorful. But you have so many spices and herbs that you can use to have fun with it.
So, how can we ease into this some way? Again, for people who are not used to this kind of thing and have perhaps not been eating very healthy, then how do you ease into this kind of thing so that it can be, meaningful for you and helpful for you?
The best thing to do is just start with one meal a day, and just focus on like if you want it to be at breakfast, you're going to try and incorporate more grains into your breakfast, or legumes, or pick a dinner, just pick one meal a day and try to, or you can, there's a lot of different ways. You could also incorporate, look at focusing on just making vegetables, like I said, the hero of your meals, and have fun with that. Just pick one thing. If you're feeling overwhelmed about starting a new way of eating, you just start with one thing and you incorporate that consistently. Then so if you start with vegetables, then start with incorporating dairy, and get to where that's pretty habitual. Then you'll move on to like incorporating fruit and I was talking to my boys, I have teenage boys, and I was saying to them just yesterday, I was like, hey, you guys have gotten away from incorporating veggies in your diet, like your daily routine. So they have no problem with apples and bananas and things like that. So fruit's fine, but they had kind of moved away from the rainbow and not much of that in there. Because I make a big salad and I was like, why is there some left over? And I just told him, I said, hey, you got to get back to where you're just putting that in there every day and just focus on one thing and don't try not to feel overwhelmed by it.
Right, right. Well, there's only so much that you can do as you get ready to start to make some changes along the way. And while I certainly appreciate everything that you're saying, the reality is that not everybody is ready for these kind of things, and it does take some time for people to get the mindset to try to make some of the changes, even though we know we're supposed to, even though we know that it's the best thing for us.
Well, I
It's
mean, yes. Yeah. I mean, it is. And even when, like, here, I'll quickly share because I know we're running out of time. So, some of the benefits is you're going to get better sleep. because the Mediterranean style way of eating has a lot of high in omega-3s, because especially if you're putting fishes in there, you know, and also so it's in olive oil and things like that. So you're going to help your body produce more melatonin. So when you consume omega-3s, it helps your body's natural melatonin. So you're going to sleep better. That's a huge benefit because we know how important sleep is. I talk about it often. Another one is you're going to reduce the inflammation. Surprisingly enough, we all walk around with inflammation in our body, and it just is dependent upon how your body is being able to process it. But we create inflammation due to our stresses, due to our environment, due to the foods that we eat, due to the things that we put on our skin. And so having a Mediterranean style way of eating is high in antioxidants, which helps with the inflammatory response in our body. So you're going to anti-inflammatory compounds, all of it's in the Mediterranean style way of eating. So it's going to help reduce that inflammation. Because what does inflammation do? It increases your chances of cardiovascular disease, stroke, cancer, respiratory diseases, any kind of chronic disease. So it's going to increase your lifespan by doing this style of eating, because you'll help reduce the inflammation. When you're sleeping better, your body is able to recover and replenish what it needs to. So there's been several meta-analysis studies done, like many studies done on this diet. So this isn't just a fad thing that's come and is going to go. The Mediterranean style way of eating has been around for hundreds of years. And there's been several, like I said, like they call them meta-analysis, where they do multiple studies across the board for men, for women, studying different things. And so it's been proven to increase your lifespan. And so it's why not do it? So it's really, really important. The last benefit that I'll share with you is that it reduces your risk of dementia. Like, who doesn't want to do that? No one wants to get to the towards the end of their life and realize, like, I wish I had done things a little differently so I could be a little sharper right now. And so because healthy unsaturated fats promote brain health. And in 1 month, from today, the March episode will be about brain health. But it helps your body, this style of eating helps your body with your brain doing washing it and cleaning itself at night, and promotes good brain health. So why not do it? And so it's like you said, it's like we know we should do it, but there's like this block that people run into. And so I say just pick up one little thing that you can do to increase, your opportunity to live healthier and live longer, have better heart health, have better metabolic health. You'll have more energy. So I know it's overwhelming for a lot of people, but just take one thing at a time.
There's plenty that people can Google. There's plenty that people can look up, on the internet or with books or other things, and find out more about what it is you're saying. Certainly the tips and things that you've given us are wonderful. And for anybody that's interested in them, go for it. And, we make small steps when we can. We realize that we understand it too, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, the more you can understand it and embrace it, the more you're likely to stick to it. So, yes, I do encourage you to go Google Mediterranean meal plan, and it'll spit out all different ideas for you. I mean, there's so many. And so it's a great way. So, someone here is sharing a cookbook, it looks like.
Yeah, it's called the Complete Med Cookbook by America's Test Kitchen, it appears. Thanks for that, Mary. We appreciate it.
Yes, I love that you started that during the pandemic. During the pandemic, I know it was a really challenging time, but it also provided so much opportunity for people to reconnect, and then not only to with one another, but reconnect with their health and figure out different ways and different things to do to boost their immune response.
Makes sense to me. So we're
And
going
this
to
is
see
definitely
you
one.
next month, and you're going to talk to us about brain health, right?
Yes, yes, the
Certainly looking
importance
for.
of brain health. Yeah, we talk always about heart health, but we don't not enough people talk about the importance of brain health.
Wonderful. We've got some wonderful insights from some of the people here about things that they're doing. So take a look at those. And while I may make a comment or two, about some of the things that Coach says. I'm never trying to to downplay what she says. Bless your little heart there. No, no, no. We're not trashing her at all. We love our coach. We love what she has to offer, but we also realize that there's more than one perspective, more than one point of view. And we try to bring a few of those in here, add a little levity to the situation so that people can get a nice variety. We appreciate you all so much for coming. We thank you. We look forward to seeing you on March the 12th when we talk about brain health. Make sure you also go to our website and take a look at some of the past episodes, and you can see some of the things that Coach has shared, which are absolutely wonderful. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to leave them and she'll get back to you. We thank you for being here with us. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.